This is Joe again with another movie review, and today for the topic of this video, I will be discussing one of the most infamous chick flicks that came out in the late 80s, and that of course is Beaches, starring Bette Midler and Barbara Hersey. Of course in the late 80s and early 90s there was a boatload of what is generally considered to be a chick flick, and of course, it started off one of the biggest chick flicks that came out was actually Still Magnolias, so it was the one that set the trend. When you have a total load of women in there, and somebody dies. This was a Julia Roberts character, I know, spoiler. Of course, Beaches is another one. And then of course you had Stella, and of course you had the stereotypical chick flick, which was Thelma and Louise. Which all came out about the same time, like the late 80s and early 90s. But what I'm going to be discussing is Beaches, which came out in 1988, starring Bette Midler and Barbara Hersey, which is based on a novel written by Iris Maynard Dorr. Because it starts off as a film about two friends over I think like a 30-year friendship or something like that. And of course, the movie starts off with Bette Midler's character building this big store named C.C. Bloom, and she rehearsing in a Hollywood Bowl, preparing for a concert that's supposed to be taking place that night. And after she rehearses a song that's played through the opening credits, well, I should mention that the film was directed by Gary Marshall. Of course, anyone created Happy Days in the Laverne and Shirley, and then directed Pretty Woman. And after when she did a rehearsal, or C.C. Bloom, the Bette Midler character, does a rehearsal, she gets a message, and then all of a sudden she runs out of the Hollywood Bowl in California, and she tries to get to San Francisco. She's going to get a flight because of fog, so she drives from Hollywood to San Francisco, and you really don't know why until like the very end of the film, because the rest of the film pretty much is in flashbacks. And of course the movie flashes back to I think maybe the 60s, the 50s or the 60s, when you had we're in Atlantic City, and you see young Hillary Whitney with the older Hillary, played by Barbara Hersey. There's like this little witch girl who was lost on the beach, and she meets up with C.C. Bloom, a young C.C. Bloom, who was played by Miriam Bialik. As a matter of fact, her role in Beaches, Miriam Bialik's role in Beaches, they wanted to be cast in the television show Blossom. So anyway, they meet up, and she's a talented girl who can sing. As a matter of fact, Miriam Bialik really can't sing, but her singing voice was dubbed in this film, which I found out in a recent interview that Miriam Bialik did. So they meet up and said, "Look, I have to try out for this Hollywood talent scout. And after that, I'll walk you back to your hotel, because I know where your hotel is." So of course, it became friends. And of course, the song that's pretty much performed through the whole film is the song Gloria Love, which is sung repeatedly in this film. And by the end of this film, you're going to be sick of the song Gloria Love. To give you a tip off in case some of you have never seen the film. So of course, then she walked to a hotel, and then Hillary Whitney says, "Oh, I want you to write me all the time." And C.C. Bloom says, "Why should I have to write you all the time for? Why do you want me to write so much?" He said, "I've never met anyone like you before." Because Hillary, even at that age, lived a pretty lonely existence. She didn't have any brothers, she didn't have any sisters. She had nobody her own age to hang out with or to play with. So she meets C.C. Bloom. "Oh, no, I have someone my own age that I can be friends with." And that's why and throughout the rest of the film, at least in the early part of the film, they constantly write letters to each other. For about over 10 years, they've written letters to each other like crazy. and eventually they do narrations. Both Hillary and C.C. Bloom, they do narrations throughout the film, reading their own letters. And so, of course, when they're older, and then when you see Barbara Hershey playing the older Hillary, the adult Hillary, and you have Bette Midler playing the older part of C.C. Bloom. Whereas I think that other than when Bette Midler was in the roles, it was the first really serious part that she played. And before that, she used to be in comedies, and it was the first real dramatic, other than the roles, so it was the first real dramatic adult role that she had. I mean, it's the first time I've seen her in a dramatic role. I never saw the roles. Anyway, Hillary Whitney, after she graduated from law school, she decides to walk out for life, and she she travels to New York to stay with Cece, and they room together for a couple of years, until the point where Hillary had to move back home to San Francisco to tend to her sick ailing father, who of course eventually dies. And so she stayed out there for a while, and then she came back to New York. Eventually, with C.C. Bloom, she ends up marrying Anthony Howard, I think, who was in Big, which came out the same year as Beaches. And Hillary's character ends up marrying James Reed, of course, who has a tiny role in this film. Because I think at the same time he was doing the movie 8 Men Out, so he had a little tiny role in this film. Of course, you might recognize James Reed for doing North and South, which I previously did another review previously. So they both were married, and Cece got this part in a Broadway show, which was like a raunchy, a raunchy show, and they showed Bette Midler performed one of the acts for that show before the film. It was called Auto Tistling, which is about how Brawl was invented. And of course, some of the lyrics you could say, even at that time, 1988, were kind of vulgar, but it has to really tone down the language because I think it was like a PG movie or PG-13 film. I don't think it was rated R. Beaches. If it was rated R, it got up the language. So anyway, they did that act, and then of course they went. There was a scene where, of course, like a stereotypical scene of a movie like this, two old friends get into a fight. It's an we drift. Barbara Hershey saying, we drifted apart, and all this type of thing. And then, of course, you eventually, see the two marriages fall apart. You see Bette Midler's career going down the toilet. In the film. And then, of course, she makes a comeback. And of course, one of Bette Midler's characters had to be in town. So Hillary goes to the club where she was performing, and they try to meet up, and Bette Midler really gave a crap in that scene, because how in the world can you take back your friendship? You always with your damn letters since we were kids, and you took away your friendship without even discussing with me. And of course, Hillary mentions why, because she was jealous of Bette Midler, because she did everything that she wanted to. And she didn't have the type of career or the type of life that she was expecting, so she was jealous. And of course, he made up the fact that Hillary was pregnant, she got pregnant just before she found out that her husband was cheating on her. And of course, Bette says, okay, I can help you with the baby. And then for a while, she was dating Hillary's doctor. And then, of course, she made a comeback. Or Bette Midler's character made a comeback in her career. And then, of course, she finds out that Hillary had a heart condition. this rare heart condition. And the only way that she would, improve is if she gets a heart transplant. And she has like a rare blood type, so it's very hard for her to get a new heart transplant. But Bette Midler says, look, I just finished my album. I might have to do an interview or two to hype the album. I'm not going to go right away on a concert tour. I'm going to just, help you and take care of you for as long as you want me. And alright, so they went to the beach house, and she stayed through the whole rest of the summer. And she and Hillary got a little annoyed because Bette Midler took so good care of her kid, or Hillary's kid. And of course, you might recognize her because for a while she did a few episodes of the Cosby Show, the one who played Hillary's daughter. So they did that, and then of course when CC's character decided to get ready for a concert in the Hillary Bowl, and she invited Hillary's daughter to come to the concert. I'm telling you, it was all my expense. You don't have to pay a dime. And of course, that's when she, got into the hospital, and she was going to be. She collapsed, or Hillary collapsed in the house. Excuse me. And of course, that's when Cece got there. And then now for the rest of the movie, from that point on, when Cece got into the hospital, there were no more flashbacks. And that's thinking about maybe the last 10 minutes of the film. 5-10 minutes of the film was not not flashbacks. And when Cece finally got there, said, I'm here. And Hillary says to her, get me out of the hospital. Because I don't want to die in the hospital. Are you sure about this? He's like, yeah, I'm sure. And of course, Cece fought to get her out of the hospital, and then she took her to the beach house, and she died right there, right by the beach house. And of course, during the scene when they were at the beach house, for a good chunk of the movie, you hear the song "Wind Beneath My Wings," which I might be wrong, but I think it won the Academy Award for Best Song in the film, even though it was recorded previously by Willie Nelson and I don't know how many others. But I know at least Willie Nelson did a version of this, and this is kind of a different version, different lyrics, a couple of parts. So of course he had that, and of course in Hillary's will, she left her daughter with Cece's cat, with Cece. Of course, at the end of the film, she sang, of course, the song "The Glory of Love." The bar was like a real slow down version, more like a ballad, instead of the faster tempo version that she sang throughout the whole film. And of course, after she was finished singing "The Glory of Love" for, thank God, for the last time, she told Hillary's daughter, "So look, I sang that song on the day your mother and I met in Atlantic City." So really? I said, yeah. I said, and so how did you meet my mother to begin with? Because my mother never told me. And that's when Cece began to tell her, "Oh, this is how I met your mother." Or she began to tell her how, "Oh, I met your mother on the beach. I was smoking underneath the pier in Atlantic City, and your mother came by. She was lost, and they helped her back to a hotel." And she began to tell the story. And that's how the movie, ended. But for me, of all the chick flicks, I think this one was from that period. I think it was like one of the better ones. Out of all of them, even though stereotypically the three main chick flicks at that time, Steel Magnolias, Beaches, and Thelma and Louise, all of them had a death in it. The only chick flick that did not have a death in it was Stella. I may be discussing that film eventually. But, that's what people got sick of. Each one of those movies had a death scene in it. The only one that didn't have was, like I said, Stella, which also starred Bette Midler. and that one was a remake. A version of Stella with Bette Midler was a remake. And I did kind of like that film too. But that's my review of Beaches. Please like the video. Please comment. Feel free to comment. Please subscribe to my channel, and please pass along the video to like your Facebook pages or wherever else. Thanks for watching.